What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Crazy Head Craig coming back at you with another reaction video, animated. Without further ado, we finna react to I Was My Parents' Favorite because I was too pretty. Without further ado, make sure you hit that fat subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button. Let's get into the video.
On a hiking trail one day, I caught sight of a boy in the distance all by himself, and my heart stopped. Why was he so close to the edge of the cliff? It seemed like he would fall over any minute. I dashed forward and pulled him away. We both fell to the ground. Our eyes locked for a second, but I quickly backed away. What'd you do that for? I thought you were gonna go over. I was just trying to take a picture of a really rare butterfly. Thanks for ruining it. I said I was sorry and brushed the grass off myself. Just as I was about to walk away, he suddenly took my hand. Hey, getting to see your eyes up close was kind of worth it. I'm Jack, by the way. Oh, my heart. He let go of my hand abruptly, and I could see a girl coming over like a raging bull towards us. What do you think you're doing? Stay away from him. I couldn't forget that moment for a week. Hi, my name is Rubina, and it was my first day at my fancy new high school. My parents had moved from Pakistan a long time ago and now owned a restaurant. I wanted nothing more than to become a chef, but they wouldn't hear of it. I had to be a doctor. They didn't move all the way to America for me to be a cook. As I walked into class with Claire, I froze when I saw the boy from the trail and his annoyingly pretty girlfriend. No, he obviously didn't remember me, but maybe she did, because she hated me from the moment I came in. Elena was one of those perfect girls with perfect hair who knew all the answers and never got less than an A, and all she could talk about was how she was going to Harvard like her daddy and granddaddy. She also felt so threatened by the new smart kid in class. That's me. I could tell that she didn't like that I had guys flocking around me. A boy from class told me the other day that I looked so exotic. He wanted to know all about where I was from. Another one said he wished he could move to Pakistan if all the girls were as gorgeous as me. Geez, why don't you guys just all move there? I don't even know why you're jealous. The only boy I want is with you. Which leads us to my first ever B+ on a math test. It was hard to focus with Jack in class. My parents were furious. It was like I'd brought dishonor to our entire family. When I was your age, I walked 20 miles to school every day with a heavy backpack. You have everything you could want, princess. Getting good grades is the least you can do. And don't turn out like your sister. That girl has given us nothing but grief. I sighed. We didn't talk about Fariel much, unless it was to give an example of what not to do. She'd become a model and gone off with her loser boyfriend. I missed having her around, though. It was cultural day at school, and I was so excited to be wearing my traditional clothes and sharing some food from back home. I'd cooked up a secret family recipe. When I walked into class that day, I had girls gasping at how pretty my clothes were. Of course, Elena loudly announced that she thought I looked really weird. I think it's actually a pretty cute look, babe. You should try it out sometime. I'm sure Rubina would be happy to help. The vein on Elena's head looked like it was gonna pop. During recess, we joined tables in class and were about to share the food we'd brought. Suddenly, I found myself tripping and falling face forward. I stared around in horror. Everything was on the floor, and I was a mess. Claire helped me up, but one look at Elena's smug face, and I knew she was behind it. I was so furious and embarrassed, I just walked out. I grabbed my things from my locker and decided to go home. I just walked a block away from school when I heard someone call out to me, Jack. I'm so sorry for what happened, Rubina. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. He hugged me and I cried some angry tears into his shoulder. I pulled away, but he was still holding me by the waist. You're the girl from the trail, right? Yes, yes, yes! I knew it was you. I couldn't forget those green eyes, like deep pools covered with algae. You know, the green stuff. Jack, you're really bad at this. He laughed too, and he leaned in to kiss me. The universe had conspired to make this moment happen. I gotta fix things with Elena first. I'll call you soon, okay? I almost skipped with joy on my way home. You know how rare it is to find your soulmate? This was fate. And then I got struck by lightning. I had no idea that most people survive being struck by lightning, and I was one of them. I opened my eyes and there were lots of lights and people talking around me, and a guy with a really worried face. I slipped away again. I woke up and had no idea where I was. This wasn't my room. Where were all my boy band posters? Oh, thank God you're awake. How are you feeling? Blank. That's what I'm feeling, stranger. Who are you? And where am I? He looked shocked, and he told me that lightning had struck me yesterday, and he explained that he was my boyfriend Jimmy, and I was at our apartment. Had this lunatic kidnapped me? I was beginning to freak out. I ran to the bathroom and locked myself in and told him I needed to see my parents. I heard him talking on the phone to someone. I turned to the mirror and I screamed. Why did I look so much older? OMG, were those lines starting to show under my eyes? And what was that? A white hair? Just then, I heard a knock on the door and a familiar voice. Open up, Rubina, it's Ferial. I opened the door and my sister hugged me tight. She also looked so much older than I remembered. What had happened to the hot model? She remembers you. She doesn't have any idea who I am. Okay, I was feeling sorry for this dude because he looked really hurt and he seemed nice, but what was going on? Rubina, what's the last thing you remember? I remember kissing Jack and going home from school. They took me to the doctor and after much questioning, it turned out that I had lost all my memories for the last 10 years. I was stuck feeling like I was still 17 because I didn't remember anything from my life after that. But I was actually 27 now. The doctor said my amnesia could go away on its own, but they couldn't be sure. Ferial decided to take me to her place since I didn't feel comfortable with Jimmy. He looked really sad as he put my bags in her car and said he'd come and see me soon with picture albums. Maybe those would help jog my memory a bit? I had so many questions. Where were Mom and Dad? Ferial told me they'd gone out of business 2 years ago and had decided to move back to Pakistan. I was devastated by that news. I loved that restaurant. Ferial said she'd left her boyfriend many years ago and fixed things with Mom and Dad and moved back into our house. She was still living there after they'd left. Of course I remembered this place. This was home. The door was opened by a very silky 13-year-old girl. Ferial introduced her as her daughter, Sidra. Mom, I know who she is. We meet like every weekend. Yes, sweetie, but Auntie doesn't know who you are anymore. Her brain's gone a bit mushy. The next day was just as crazy as I tried to understand what had happened all these years. Apparently, I'd gone to med school and graduated with flying colors and I had my own clinic now. That was so lame. I was supposed to be a chef. I talked to Mom and Dad on Skype, and they said they'd come and see me as soon as they could get a flight. By the way, Mom, do you remember me dating a guy called Jack in high school? I don't remember, Baita. The word Baita means kid in my language. It's something Mom will probably keep calling me, even when I'm a grandma. Maybe you kept it a secret from me? That was entirely possible. I said the connection was dropping and hung up. What had happened to me and Jack? Hadn't he broken up with Elena after that magical, life-changing kiss? Jimmy came by the next morning with a pile of photo albums. As he walked me through all the birthdays and trips, I could see him looking at my face, hoping I would remember something. He really had such warm, kind eyes. I felt awful disappointing him. Why don't you leave these here and I'll look through them again? He smiled sadly and said he'd come again later. Oh, I almost forgot. Here's your phone. You forgot it the other day. Yes, that's what I needed. And I found a Jack on my phone. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number. Turned out it was Jack the plumber, who'd fixed the pipes in our place last month, apparently. Great. I didn't have Claire's number either. I wanted to catch up with her, and if anyone knew what had happened between me and Jack, it would be her. I searched for both of them on Facebook, but they didn't seem to have accounts. No one uses Facebook that much anymore, Aunt Rubina. I've been telling you since forever to make an Insta account. Why was this 13-year-old weirdo calling me Auntie? Then I remembered that I wasn't actually 17 and that she was my niece. Whatever. Fine, if you insist, set up this Insta account for me. She rolled her eyes and took my phone. A few minutes later, I had a profile on Instagram, and we found both Jack and Claire there. I sent them both invites and spent the whole day checking my phone. Thank God Sidra had shown me this awesome channel, My Story Animated. I laughed and cried over the stories all day while I waited. As I was about to go to sleep that night, I got a notification. Jack had accepted my invite. How is it possible that he was even cuter now? And I couldn't see any wife or girlfriend. I left him a message saying I'd like to meet. Almost instantly, I got a reply. Hey, never thought I'd hear from you again. I'd love to catch up. Meet me at the Starbucks on 5th Avenue? How was I going to sleep tonight? Just then, I got a WhatsApp message from Jimmy. Good night. I started going through all our previous conversations, and it seemed like he really loved me. It made me feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside, but I couldn't remember that feeling of loving him. I woke up feeling so excited about meeting up with Jack. I had to decide what to wear. Yuck. Why did being 27 mean that I only had boring clothes? Where were the ripped jeans and cute crop tops? I remembered Ferial saying that some of my old stuff was in the attic, so I went up hoping to find something there. And I did! This was perfect! It was the dress I was wearing the day Jack and I kissed. He loved it, and maybe I'd get lucky again. Okay, so I had to beg Sidra to zip me up while I held my breath, but I still looked good. My heart was racing as I walked into the coffee shop. He looked up and smiled, and I was spellbound again. He got up and kissed me on the cheek and said I hadn't changed at all. I really haven't, Jack. He asked why I'd wanted to reconnect after all this time, and I told him my whole crazy lightning story. I'm just trying to remember things. What happened between us? He looked really surprised that I'd forgotten everything. Well, I broke up with Elena and asked you out, and we dated for a year. It was really special. He said when I was going off to med school, we'd decided long distance was going to be too hard, so we went our own ways. I felt heartbroken. How could I have possibly let my soulmate get away? He took my hand and said he'd felt so good hearing from me. He wanted to see me again. And of course I said yes. Maybe this was fate's way of letting us have another chance. He walked me back home, and just as he was about to leave, he turned around. I've been wanting to do this again for so long. And he pulled me in for a long kiss, leaving my head spinning. As I snuggled up on the couch to become Jack's cyberstalker, I realized Claire still hadn't added me. I looked her up on Google and found out where she worked. She was a partner at some big law firm. I called her workplace, and the secretary put me through. A few seconds later, I instantly recognized Claire's voice as she asked who was speaking. Hi, Fancy Pants Claire, it's Rubina. Remember your best friend? Suddenly, there was complete silence, and then she just hung up. What on earth? The doorbell rang. Someone had sent a bouquet of white lilies for me. I'd always loved lilies. I read the note. Hey, would you like to come over to my place for dinner tonight? I'd like you to get to know me again. Let me know. Jimmy. Man, this was getting confusing. Jack had just kissed me and asked me out. And here was my real boyfriend, and he was just so sweet, and it was just dinner, right? I texted him and said I'd be there. When Jimmy opened the door, I couldn't help thinking he looked really cute all dressed up. And here I was in Cedra's t-shirt. We walked out to the balcony to have a candlelit dinner for two. This was definitely a date. When he placed the food on the table, I cried out in surprise. OMG, how did you know that's like my favorite thing in the world? Of course I know. I learned the recipe from your mom ages ago. Boy, did he know how to make his way into a Pakistani girl's heart. It was just really fun and easy talking to him. I didn't even realize how quickly the time had gone by. Want to dance? I don't know if you remember this, but you love dancing. I always have. As he pulled me close and we slow danced under the stars, I could feel my heart racing.
Oh my God!
Why did he smell so nice? I kind of really wanted him to kiss me.
Who's she gonna
Trying to
pick?
distract myself, I said that it was really weird that my best friend Claire seemed to be avoiding me. He suddenly stopped short. You mean Claire from your high school? You've told me about her. You guys haven't spoken to each other since you graduated. I was really surprised. Why? You said you caught her and your boyfriend kissing at the graduation party. I pulled back horrified. What? I told Jimmy I had to go and ran out of there before he could stop me. I cried all the way home. How could my best friend who knew everything do this? How could Jack? The next day I stormed off to the car dealership he told me he owned. He looked really surprised to see me. Hey babe, I thought we were meeting I slapped him hard on the cheek.
Yeah!
You kissed my best friend and you tried to fool me because I couldn't remember stuff? Babe, listen, that was such a long time ago. Well, what about the ring on your finger now? All of his employees were staring at us in stunned silence.
He's
I
married!
wish I'd forgotten you even existed. Goodbye, Jack. The stupid boy I'd met on that stupid trail was always a scumbag. When I got back home, I tripped over a suitcase and cried out in joy. Mom and Dad were here. As I sobbed and hugged Mom, I thought she smelled like my favorite things in the world, cinnamon and jasmine. Suddenly I felt dizzy, like my mind was spinning out of control. What was happening to me? It felt like my life was playing out before me. I remembered the graduation party, the first time lightning struck me, and my time at med school. And I'd come back. And on the plane ride home, I'd met Jimmy. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice, but it had. It struck me twice. When I was 17 and when I was 27 years old. The first time nothing happened, but the second time it had hit me, I'd lost all my memories of the last 10 years. But now I remembered everything, and I remembered that I'd found my real soulmate. And he was not a stupid high school crush. He was the real deal. And I had to marry him before he ran away. I told everyone I had to do something really important, and I rushed out. I just had to make one stop on the way. Jimmy looked really surprised to see me at his door. That night when I got struck the second time, I was going to ask you to marry me. I kneeled on the ground and I said, Jimmy, would you marry me? And I handed him the ring I bought before I lost my memory. His jaw dropped open and he said, you remember me. And he just pulled me in tight and hugged me. He said in my ear, there's nothing I want to do more than marry you, Rubina.
Hey! That's the end of the video. That was a good twist. I was like, is it going to be him? Is it going to be her? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be her? Is it gonna be him? Man, that was good. Y'all already know. Make sure you hit like, subscribe button. Sorry for how my view look, but till next time, hey!
I just pulled a 2020 out, yes sir. I just did another video, yes sir. I'm just thankful right here, living in my purpose. Positive vibes trying to change the world. Oh.